Welcome back to Mike's Miniatures, the place for all things mini wargaming, and in today's video, as voted, we are going to go ahead and do the Dark Angels Combat Patrol. Let's review it and see what kind of a thematic army we can build out of this, or armies. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's actually within this Combat Patrol box to begin with. This will have a Captain and Gravis armor that's supposed to be leading the force right here in the center. He will also have some Blade Guard veterans, a squad of 3 that are painted up in the white color scheme, and there's a reason for that. Then we have a 5-man squad of Hellblasters, which is very good for your anti-vehicle and or medium armor kind of characters. And then we have 10 Intercessor Space Marines that could either be a whole block of 10 or 2 squads of 5 right here. The box also comes with an Dark Angels upgrade sprue. No, it doesn't come with the nice big one that we have here that has Terminator bits or anything, but it has the ones over here on the left with the basically the sword for your intercessors, the shoulder pads, and some helmets and decals and things like that. So it's not the full upgrade sprue, it's just got a segment of an older one here. Now this Combat Patrol right here is probably one of the original Combat Patrols that if you would have asked me about a year and a half ago how to start Space Marines, this is probably the box I would have recommended for you, just because it has a pretty good selection of starting. And in fact, the Argent Templar force for the chapter actually got started by purchasing one of these boxes to get that army going. In this box, no enhancements. It comes to about 445 points at time of recording, and assuming Games Workshop isn't going to change any more updates or anything like that for the next coming weeks or months. The MSRP for this box is now $170 US. Do some conversions with that would be for British pounds or Canadian dollars or Australian dollary-doos. I'm not sure. I haven't done that much research into the main differences yet with that, but I do know at time of recording on Amazon here in the US you could get this box today at about $130.04. It looks like they are getting this kind of cheaper because they're wanting to clear out their stock of this, so I'll leave a link down in the description where you can get this, and hopefully it'll stay at this cheap. It might jump up to $140, which is kind of more average of what we see on Amazon right here. But again, use those links down below, and thank you guys for doing so. If you do, it supports the channel so that I can devote a bit more time to making these videos right here. So, how do we expand this to make a thematic army for the Dark Angels? So we got to remember a couple of points with the Dark Angels. These guys are knights in space, paranoid knights in space, but they are knights in space. So think of your classic King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table kind of a deal. That's the vibe that they want to give off right here. They also, for weapons, they love plasma weapons, hence the Hellblasters in their little start kit, and with all their vehicles. When the Dark Angels were the First Legion during Horus Heresy era, being the First Legion, they were the ones who had all the, basically the testing demo weapons, and plasma was the big deal back then, so they love wielding the plasma destructive weapons that way. And the best part about this army right here is you actually have 3 play styles that are kind of supported with this range right here, and we're actually going to go into more of what those are, and it's really just how you like to play on how you would like to expand or create an army here. So first and foremost, we have the Deathwing, which was the original first company of the Dark Angels. This is your heavy Terminator and veteran models and things like that. Then we have the Ravenwing, which is all bikers and land speeders and tanks and things like that. It's basically like the white scars where you got to go fast kind of a vibe there. That's what the Ravenwing like to do. And then the Greenwing, also known as the Inner Circle, is the most common way when you think of Dark Angels, or when somebody says Dark Angels, these are the guys you think of, the green power armored individuals and these standard soldiers that way here. So what I'm going to do in this video, as a special treat here, I'm going to show you how you can make an individual thematic army for all three play styles, and then one where you can have all three combined into one, like the Combat Patrol right here. So let's get started with the Greenwing, or the Inner Circle wing right here, which is the easiest to do with this Combat Patrol box right here. So after purchasing this Combat Patrol, you want to get the Honored of the Chapter, or Heroes of the Chapter box, because it will come with your Chaplain, your Judicator, 3 more Blade Guard veterans and their ancient, as well as some eradicators for your Captain and Gravis armor to actually be attached to and lead. And then get some Heroes of the Chapter, so you have a generic captain with his retinue that can kind of buff up your intercessors and things like that, to expand and have this here. But another unit that I would definitely get is the Inner Circle Companions, hence why Greenwing is also known as the Inner Circle Wing, because these guys are basically your knights that don't carry shields. They carry the two-handed power swords and things like that, and they are very good at just going in and clearing objectives and things like that. Getting 2 of the 2 boxes, so you could have either 2 squads of 3 or 1 single block of 6, is definitely something I would at least look into getting. And then the Greenwing obviously will need some Psyker and healing. The Librarian is mostly for some buffs to your different units that you can have. If you don't attach the Chaplain to the Blade Guard, maybe you attach the Librarian to him. And then the Apothecary is who I would add to your Hellblasters, because Hellblasters, when you supercharge them, they can stick around even after they've blown up, air quotes. They can still shoot another round if an enemy takes them out, and you can just bring those guys back there. Like even though intercessors are your main battle line, the Hellblasters are going to be more your infantry kind of a deal here. Speaking of which, I get another box of Hellblasters right here, so you can have either 3 squads of 5 or 1 squad of 10 and 1 squad of 5 right here, and that's basically what I would do for the thematic here. And then obviously it wouldn't be one of my videos if they didn't have a vehicle. In this case, a Redemptor Dreadnought that has the plasma cannon is a very good thematic fit, and it will also help with other anti-vehicles and things like that here. So altogether, this is the Greenwing version of the army using the Combat Patrol. This comes to 1,595 points, and I would definitely, when starting Dark Angels, this is probably the easiest way to go, is creating the Greenwing right here. But let's go ahead and take a look at how you would start a Deathwing army. This does not use the Combat Patrol if you're going to do just pure Deathwing right here. Basically, the main bread and butter of this chapter version army is the Deathwing Knights. These are Terminators with these fancy relic shields, and they could either be wielding the power swords or the power maces. And these guys are just powerhouses in general. You do not want to if you are playing against this army, you do not want to get into melee with these guys. They are like the Blade Guard veterans, but extra tanky and extra scary. So definitely you'll want to get a max out. You can only have a unit of 5, they don't go up to 10, and you can have a maximum of 3 in your army, so I'd definitely max these out right here. You could also get your regular Terminator squad right here, and the unique thematic thing with them is there is in the upgrade kit, they have the plasma cannon for the Terminators. I would definitely, if you can, get some upgrades and then run your Terminators with that. And if you're not going to have any plasma cannons, or if you have multiples, still get the missile pod launchers, because that's going to be really the most powerful and best loadout options for this army, and very thematic that way. And then for characters to lead the army, you're going to want to have your captain in Terminator armor with his ancient to kind of help bust boost up the unit he'll be attached to. Whoever you attach the chaplain unit to is going to be again a melee beat stick, and the librarian, if you attach him, will also be a very good buff with anything regarding attacks and things like that. And then obviously for a vehicle, you take your pick of whichever dreadnought you want. You don't necessarily have to do the Redemptor. I would definitely do the Ballistas to give the Deathwing army some shooting capability for the anti-vehicle and things like that. But you can pick any of the 3 dreadnoughts that you would want to be in this army. I would just recommend getting the Ballistas one. So this is kind of how the army would look like. It's very much oops all Terminators, but that's a thematic way of being a Deathwing army. This loadout right here comes to 1,940 points, which doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room for any enhancements and things like that for your characters, but so you can change things up that way. But yeah, this is how I would definitely make a Deathwing army right here. Now on to the Ravenwing, and this was actually a fun one to kind of look into, because there are some units that even I didn't realize that the Dark Angels had with this force. This one being the Ravenwing Black Knights, a unique kind of outrider squad, and obviously this is a Firstborn Marine kit still. I highly doubt that Games Workshop will give us much of an update for this. Maybe they will, and I will eat my own words here with how often Games Workshop seems to be upgrading Space Marines. Maybe we might get lucky and we'll see this kit along with the Outriders kit get upgraded, because as you can see with this kit, you could create a ancient on bike, an apothecary on bike, and really, I would definitely, if you're not wanting Firstborn Marines but wanting to get these Outriders for your army, I'd still get the Outriders, even though they're monoposed, but then get some boxes of the Deathwing Black Knights while we still have them, and just use that for parts for your army right here until Games Workshop basically decides to give it an actual upgrade and honest effort for the Outriders, so we have a multi-part kit. That's kind of the route I would go at time of recording. We'll see what happens if Games Workshop decides to do that for us here. Another thing that is unique to them is they have these unique land speeders, one called the Ravenwing Dark Shroud and the other one the land speeder Vengeance. The Vengeance, like I said before with the thematic, they have the giant plasma cannons on top, but the Dark Shroud has kind of like this shrine that gives buffs to units that are on the field and give bonuses and things like that. These are Firstborn kits, and I doubt that they will be around for much longer. Especially 5 years from now, they will probably be discontinued and gone. So if you want something like this, even just for display on your shelf, definitely get them. But this is a good thematic way. If you don't want to deal with this, obviously getting any of the land speeders that we have, the variations we have here, is going to be a good fit for this army right here. They also have flyers, which I do not recommend you get, but this is a unique thing that you can have, the Ravenwing Dark Talon or the Nelephim Jet Fighter. Flyers are just, rules-wise, they're almost impossible to use or ridiculous to use in 10th edition 40k. They kind of need to do some changes right here. Literally the only army other than the Ravenwing army that I've seen that could use a flyer is the Death Watch with their Dark Shroud jet, but these are, maybe that'd be a fun list to do if you're doing a Death Watch army, to have some Nelephim Jet Fighters and the Dark Talons supporting him, do an all-air battle. That'd be interesting. Totally not practical, but it'd be interesting right here. And then obviously we need to have, for a better thematic way to build this army, we could have a tank with the Gladius and the impulsors for transports, or repulsors if you're going to have multiple infantry for objective control. Outrider ATVs are good for clearing the board or clearing an objective and then trying to claim it, moving fast onto the field. And then I just do assault intercessors and some inceptors right here with the plasma guns. They are definitely thematic with this list if you wanted to go the jetpack route. And obviously the only leader on a bike at the moment is the chaplain on the bike, so definitely want to get one of them. But yeah, for the thematic list, this is kind of the route I would go. It's a very short list, either picking the Dark Shroud speeder or a regular Hellstrike land speeder right here, maxing out your Outrider squads and making 2 squads of the Deathwing Knights. This is a small, depending on which speeder you pick, it's going to be either 955 points or 1,005 points, depending on which one you want to pick that way here. So, but how I would do if you wanted all 3 of these put together, this is basically how I would create the list right here. So you still have your combat patrol and your honored of the chapter making the main bulk of your army. We have at least 1 squad of Deathwing Terminators and regular Terminators with the plasma gun, 2 squads or 1 big squad of Inner Circle companions, and then I would definitely get like a repulsor for transporting some of your units down the field here, some black Ravenwing Black Knights to help claim objectives with their unique land speeder to give them some boosts, and then obviously you'll want a dreadnought to give you that anti-vehicle support as well. This army is 1,950 points right here at time of recording, and this is definitely probably an alternative route if you want all 3 wings represented balanced wise in this force right here, how I would do it that way. And then, of course, we have some unique characters that could be in this force, and this is the only other army other than Ultramarines to have their Primarch in Lionel Johnson, and he is a powerhouse of a unit on the field. I haven't had the privilege to play against or play with one of these models on the field, but I hear that he is just super powerful, especially with either the Inner Circle companions supporting him, kind of like High Marshal Helbricht with the Blaze Sword Brethren for Black Templars. It's kind of the same vibe from what I'm understanding. And then you have their chapter master right here, Azrael, I believe is his name. Michael, who is editing right here, it will correct me with that. And then you have for Deathwing, we have Belial, who is this beautiful model in white. All of these guys are just super cool, and I love the knightly aesthetic of the Dark Angels right here. We don't have any kind of a leader for the Ravenwing to represent that, so maybe just kind of create or kit bash your own is probably the route I would go with that. But that is the Dark Angels Combat Patrol and how to make thematic armies using the Combat Patrol with it. Leave a comment down below if you guys have any other how you would do the Dark Angels, and do you think that they're loyalists or do you think that they're traitors? Because we all know they're loyalists, right? So anyways, I've been Mike, and this is Mike's Miniatures. Links down in the description if you want to get started with this army. I appreciate all that you guys have done for me in this channel in helping us to grow, and until next time, guys, bye-bye.